Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, and today we have a NASCAR bombshell that dropped this afternoon. Chase Briscoe is receiving a massive penalty for an illegally modified spoiler at the Daytona 500. They will be docked, 100 season points, 10 playoff points, and crew chief James Small will be suspended for the next four races, and the team has been fined $100,000. Who saw that coming? Wow. So a lot to dissect there. So essentially the biggest issue here was that the spoiler is a single source part, one of those parts that NASCAR gives to the teams and they cannot modify in any way whatsoever. And it doesn't take a rocket scientist to know the significance that modifying a spoiler could play, especially at a drafting track. So really makes you wonder how the 19 was so fast during qualifying and secured the pole for the Daytona 500. We might know now why. And, you know, we gotta. The big thing we gotta ask here is I don't know when these inspections happened. Like, I don't know if there was inspections all throughout the week every single day or what. But that's a big question I would like answered, because if they inspected it after qualifying, that would be something interesting to know, because then that wouldn't have been an aspect, and then they would have done it during prior to the race. So very interesting to think about with that. It also, so he obviously had it during the race. Like, we all know that, because they wouldn't have divvied the penalty if it wasn't there. And like you saw in my video a couple nights ago, I thought the 19 was responsible for the wreck on the final lap. And it also could explain why that 19 was so charged up there at the end of that race, because he was coming hot at the end there. Was throwing he had some push behind him with Byron and Reddick, but he was shoving the 41 of Custer really hard into Hamlin. And then when Custer ends up going out wide, he throws a huge block, or a huge shove to dent the back of Hamlin. The 19 does. So who knows? That could have played a factor into why that car was so charged up. And this really just takes a really good start to the year for Chase Briscoe and just flushes it right down the toilet, because now they are sitting negative 67 in the standings. Horrible, not good. So what a just turn of events for the 19 team. You come out crazy hot and you think, okay, well, maybe we got something figured out, and then boom, you're already freaking 2 or 3 races behind the 8 ball now in terms of points. So it's pretty crazy, but I think this does. You hesitate to say after one race that this puts somebody in must-win territory, but a driver who already struggled to win races, and a car who the past 2 years without Briscoe has struggled to win races. I don't know, man. I think we're gonna have to see it. I think we're really gonna learn a lot about where this season's going for the 19 team in the next few weeks, especially with the drafting track this weekend. Briscoe's obviously been really good at drafting tracks, so I think obviously the 2 Atlanta races, including this weekend, both Talladega races and the summer Daytona race, which that could be a big one. I know Briscoe's actually won the pole for that a few years ago, that summer Daytona race. That'll be his last chance to get into the playoffs before Darlington, which opens the playoffs, which he obviously won that Southern 500 last year. So we'll have to see. I mean, as far as getting the playoffs is concerned, we got Darlington in the regular season. Maybe he puts in a good run there. We've seen before that, especially in Xfinity, he's been able to win that spring race, and also in very similar fashion to the way last year's race ended, racing Kyle Busch in the Cup Series last year. That race in the Xfinity Series he won was almost like a carbon copy of that. So who knows? We'll have to see. And then as far as Phoenix, he's won in Phoenix before in the spring a couple years ago. I think that was his first Cup win, I believe, in 2021. I was there actually. So in the 19, and that's the other thing we have to keep in mind. Where has the 19 car been good? Because even if Briscoe's not been good, at least the 19 car has shown history to run well at tracks, even if it wasn't winning with Truex in the car. So I think of a place like Phoenix, because the last race at Phoenix, the 19 car was on the pole. So we'll have to see. But I think of a place like, New Hampshire, Martinsville. I don't know. I mean, you just got to look and see where the 19 car's been good. So we'll see. I think we're going to have to, the next few weeks are going to tell us a lot about where this season's heading for that 19. And I think they need to be, if they want to get in on points, they have to be like, they got to be really good. So, especially, I mean, they're coming from a very large deficit. And I was watching Eric Estep's video earlier about this, his instant reaction, and he made a very good point that, he had mentioned during the off season that the pressure's really starting to ramp up on James Small, the crew chief of the 19 team, because of how bad the 19 car has been the past few years with Truex in it. And he mentioned how much pressure he thought he was going to be under. And then what do you know? First race he comes out and he makes a pretty bold illegal modification that, I mean, I don't know how they would have, if this was intentional, which apparently JGR is going to appeal, so we're going to have to wait and see on that. But, if this was intentional, like, that's a huge thing to swing on in the first race of the season. So who knows what that pressure's like on the shoulders of James Small at the moment. That is a big one we'll have to keep an eye on. But yeah, just crazy stuff coming out kind of out of nowhere after Daytona. So lots of stuff to talk about heading into Atlanta this week, and I'll have some more videos coming up for y'all. So thank y'all so much for watching, and keep an eye out for the rest of those videos. Thank y'all. God bless.